Hello, friends. I had a very intense day today, mostly in a good way. There were moments of frustration. I was working on my computer and some software installs weren't going to plan, and these are the times, I know that it's so funny how when I am practicing piano or doing anything creative and connected, I have all this patience for the minutia of the problem, or the minutia of the process, to take the time that they take. If I'm learning a piece of music and there's a tricky passage to work out, I've learned that it just takes the time it takes, and you kind of just have to surrender to that. And actually, there's interest there. There is discovery there. Right? Every little problem, every little obstacle to the accomplishment of the thing is actually a gift in some ways. Well, you put me in front of a computer and I'm installing software, and it does not feel that way anymore. It feels like, why is this bullshit taking so long? Why didn't it work? Why didn't it do what it said it was going to do? I just routed the library to the folder. Why can't it find the folder? I'm sure there's an analogous process for computers where ironing out every detail is a process you can consciously engage in, but it's tougher for me there. I'll put it that way. I'll have to leverage some focus towards what that might mean, to sit in front of technology and have the same patience that I do when I'm sitting in front of a grand piano, or when I'm sitting in front of a piece of paper, or when I'm working with a student or a client or anybody deep in the creative process. Because I know ultimately computers have they're part of the same process. It's just they have this way of being frustrating. So now you've seen that side of me. But I had a really beautiful, where it all started today was I had a lesson with Madeline, which, as you at this point probably know, whenever I have a lesson with Madeline, it's really hard for me not to make my video post about that, because that's generally the kind of like highlight moment, banner moment of my day. And today's lesson was a beautiful one, a really, really profound one. And so the thing that happened, and this is a lesson that is immediately, I can tell you right now, it's immediately gonna become part of my life. It's gonna become a major practice in my life. The reason is I played two pieces for her, second of which is the Chopin Étude number 3, which has, if you don't know the piece, it's a beautiful, slow opening in E major, a really just poignant and kind of, she asked me to describe what I felt about it emotionally, and I sort of was, I realized it feels like it's a piece that it's almost like we have the experience of grief, but the sun keeps shining through the grief. The grief is actually becoming beautiful in our hands before our eyes, before our ears, as we just follow this gorgeous melody and these, simple but really also kind of sophisticated and elegantly navigated harmonic changes. It's just a beautiful opening to the piece. And then somewhere, after the first minute or so, it goes into a really fast and emotionally impactful section, changes tone completely, and then comes back at the end. So anyway, I played it, and she asked me what I thought of it, and I said something just about what I said to you just now. And then she said, well, why don't you sit for a moment and reflect on something sad before you play. Reflect on something sad. And, or maybe she asked me first, what emotion comes up, and then ask me to sort of evoke or connect an experience in my life to the feeling of sadness that I was experiencing. And then kind of did that, and then she had me reflect on that, and then I played, and it was like the piece was transformed. It was like the piece, although there were many technical elements to what I was doing. I mean, I wish I could play it for you right now. I should probably be at the piano, but there were many technical elements that just all of a sudden started happening almost automatically. Things that ordinarily, if I was practicing from a more analytical place, would require a lot of focus and effort devoted to the detailed kind of technical aspects of each thing. But instead, they just kind of like were rippling out of my hands as though they were just hung on this stream of emotion that was there. And it was, and Madeline noticed it for sure. She said that was transformed. And then she gave me the exercise of every day before I practice, reflecting on something sad. And then she went a step further and said, and every day before you meditate, reflect on something sad. And I thought, what an amazing instruction, because what I had experienced was connecting with sadness, connecting with something soft in myself, actually opened the door to connection. It opened the door to expressing something through the music that had nothing to do with the technique. And furthermore, it also reminded me of Chögyam Trungpa talks about when we become truly present, the truly open heart. He basically says if you're truly open-hearted, there will be a sadness in your heart, and it's not a sadness that's about anything. It's not a sadness of victimization or of trauma. It's just the sadness of an open heart in the world. And this instruction to reflect on something sad before engaging in any deep practice was just so revelatory. It was so amazing, because I was like, oh, it opens the door to the truth of my inner being, of my felt sense of this moment. And it was, then it kind of like occurred to me how hilariously different that is than an affirmation. When we're reciting affirmations for ourselves, we are, you would never say in an affirmation like what you're sad about. You would never dwell on that. That's not the affirmations are kind of like this other. It's another thing you're doing, and I just found that hilarious. I imagined like an entire Tony Robbins event full of people where he's asking you to reflect on something sad. It would just never happen. It's just not. It's not the vibe. But there was something that really resonated. I almost couldn't. It's so counterintuitive. It's so, almost reminds me of what's coming up for me now. Is like it almost reminds me of homeopathy. If an affirmation is kind of like naturopathic medicine, where you have a symptom and you use the law of opposites. You try and have a treatment that suppresses or or expels the symptom or the problem or the disease. Homeopathy actually says the opposite. Homeopathy says if you have a condition of sadness, you're going to bring the remedy is of sadness, and that's what dissolves. That's what frees the energy. If you have a condition of anger, you're going to bring a remedy that introduces anger in a homeopathic dosage to the system, and that's what dissolves. And so this, in a way, I'm sort of making this analogy up as I go along, but something about the exercise today felt so incredibly powerful. It was like I just connected with the deepest part of myself instantly. And the music rode on that current of open-hearted sadness. Sadness opens our heart. Sadness brings us to a vulnerable place. And I mean, I'm working with a dear friend and student right now on a book that is exactly about this topic, how grief becomes a portal to beauty, to connection, ultimately to joy and lightness of experience. And so just having that instruction in my life feels huge. I literally went as soon as the lesson was over and put reminders in my phone to remind me to reflect on something sad before I practice, reflect on something sad before I meditate, because I found myself thinking, the first thought that came up was, oh my God, the people I love are all going to die. We're all, and I am going to pass away. We're all temporary. And that was, funny enough, one of the things Madeline said. She said, to be in this world and to know we're going to die is heartbreaking. We are inherently in a heartbroken condition. As long as we are here, we are heartbroken. And on another level, we're heartbroken because we are temporarily and only in an illusory way disconnected from the unity of everything. I mean, of course, we are also connected to the unity of everything, but we've been given an individual perspective within an individual context. We let go of unity in order to have the experience of separation, which is, of course, the whole spectacle of manifestation. It's, I think this is where you can get into theorizing about why would God, unity, want to have the experience of limitation, of being of non-unity. What the traditions would tell us is that that's the dance, that's the game. It's a game of delight. It's a game of knowing ourselves, God knowing himself, herself more deeply. Again, I don't really want to theorize about this, but there's something very direct about this experience of sadness that sort of unlocked a whole series of connections in my heart. It was like immediately my heart was in the truth and was available for what the music wanted from me, available for what energy was coming through me to be ushered into the world. So I suppose I just offer that to anyone watching as well. The idea that connecting with sadness is actually a doorway, a portal to something is profound. And it can be, I at least have had the experience now. It's going to become part of my practice. It's going to become part of my practice because it's a reminder of what the practice is all about. It's a reminder of the core condition that the practice is is emanating from. You know, God doesn't need to meditate to feel unity. Anyway, yeah. So, thank you, people. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. So much love. Have a wonderful day. And I'll see you tomorrow.